Okay,
I ha-
so thank you for joining us all here today. We have special guests, amazing people on, and I'm going to be introducing them in a little bit. But basically, we have Rob Renmark and Brenda Vance going to be talking to you about fruit and why fruitarianism and raw veganism is so important, what it is, and all of that jazz. And by the way, I love jazz, so um,
so
yeah,
everything's
this is
jazz.
yeah. So this is the Creating a Beautiful World radio show. This is it's the same title as one of my books. So we want to create a beautiful world, and that's why it's so important to read books like my own books that I've written. I've written over 8 books, and actually I got a good and important announcement to talk to you about today, because I am in the midst of publishing, or actually writing and publishing, my next book. And it just seems like I can never stop writing, because this message is so important to get out to the world. And the message is one of love and compassion for all of life on this earth. And if we don't uh, live in harmony and cooperation with all the beings on this earth, we're not going to survive as a human species. And this is precisely what the book is talking about. I want to go into that a little bit before we start with our special guests, Brenda and Rob, and talk to them about their lives and what they're doing to help share this message, and about fruitarianism in general, what does it mean to them, and all that. So, let me just share with you for a moment here. One second. Can see shortly. I have done this only once, but I hope you can see my desktop, my computer desktop.
Yeah, we're seeing your desktop now.
Okay, so this is the new concept cover that I've done for the new book called Awakening the Good in Humanity, Ending Violence Forever. It's a book really about, I mean, all my books are basically the same, trying to reawaken that love within us for all life on this earth, and understanding that whatever we do to non-human animals, we essentially do to ourselves, and whatever thoughts and also whatever we see in the external is actually happening within us. And so I've learned this over the past 11 years being vegan, and of course now raw vegan for some time, because in this crazy world sometimes it's not possible to do things that you really want to do. I mean, I want to live in a perfect paradise in nature with a community, and sometimes society just doesn't let you do that. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about also maybe the pandemic, what's happening, or pandemic, what's happening there, and about all the goodies also. So this book is in the works right now, and hopefully by early next year it will be available. And so I'm trying to get this particular book out, because it actually encompasses all the ideas, or a lot of the ideas, in many of my books. So it's basically like one source book for everything, and for everyone. So yeah. So now let me figure out. Begin this event, and all my work is sponsored by Evolution Diet Pet Food. I don't hear myself, so can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you guys are both.
Yes.
Okay, good. One second. Okay. Okay. So this event and all my work is sponsored by Evolution Diet Pet Food. vegan pet food for your cats and dogs. I have, of course, a very different view on life and very different view on pets. And so if you really want to learn more about that, you can get my book, Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. I talk about the pet issue. I talk about backyard raising of animals and especially hens for their eggs. I talk about honey production as well. I talk about fish and aquatic animals. I talk about so much in that book. And then I go into more detail of Eden Fruitarianism and what Eden Fruitarianism really is in one of my newest books called Creating a Beautiful World, just as this radio show is called as well. And so you can get those on my website, weareinterconnected.com. And that is will be posted in the description of the YouTube video, so you'll be able to find all those links there. And this video will be uploaded next few days to my YouTube channel. You can just search my name and it's right there. But also it'll be posted to other social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc. I use mainly Facebook anyways. So yeah, so next, what is it now? The next call, you'll be able to see it if you go to weareinterconnected.com. There's the radio link section there on the website. You'll be able to see I think it's the October the 9th is the next event, and the last event currently is scheduled. And we're going to be having a special guest on there about cooking. So I can't wait to, Lena Novak is going to be on the call from Lena's Vegan Living. So we're going to hear about her, what she has to say about vegan cooking, and about she's in the works trying to create a cooking like a recipe book, and so that will be exciting. So without further ado, because I know I can talk forever, and so we're going to get to the special guests, Rob and Brenda. Thank you so much, Rob and Brenda, for coming on the show.
For sure.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Excellent. Thank you. And before we start, whoever wants to start first, introduce a little bit about yourselves. Who are you? Why are you on this food journey? And a little bit about that.
Ladies first.
All right. Well, I am Brenda Vance, obviously, and I am a holistic health and nutrition coach, a certified personal trainer, healer, and also soon to be clinical mental health counselor. I am on the raw vegan journey, high fruit diet, mostly because I hit my deathbed at the age of 27. And it was the journey that actually led me to be here today. So it led me to all my healing from many different ailments, including like pre-lupus, irritable bowel syndrome, Raynaud's syndrome. My internal organs were basically shutting down, like my liver and my kidney. Many other mental health things like depression, anxiety, complex PTSD. So basically my body was completely shutting down, and I had hit my deathbed, and Source, God, had led me to the answers that this was the lifestyle that was going to heal me, and I put all my trust into it, and for sure, it definitely did heal me.
Excellent. Rob?
Yeah, so how did I come to be on this journey? I was born and that was it. I always loved animals. I always felt like this strong connection with nature. Like ever since I was a kid, I would just feel most at home out in the woods in nature, and I always had this sense, like the subtle energies, the chi, the life force flowing in everything living, everything that exists. I would just feel this. This was a natural part for me. of being, and I never actually understood that other people didn't feel it too. But so this kind of led me to, I think, to a large degree, to my connection with animals, and then my compassion for them, and turning like vegetarian and then vegan, and then noticing the amazing health benefits and starting to eating more and more healthy and more fruit, and then unfortunately stepping back from that for quite some time, back to more cooked foods, but then back to more raw again, and being basically not fully raw like all the time, because it, like you said, it can be a bit hard, and facing my own addictions, my own emotional difficulties, because when you go raw, everything will be laid bare, unless you just kind of really push it super hard and just stay away from your heart, or whatever. But so it can be really hard. So I kind of fell off a bit, sometimes I ate some cooked food just to kind of bring myself back, bring myself down from the excruciating pain of healing, basically. But I mean, my journey is vegan for the animals, of course. Animal rights activism, health came into it, and here I am. And I've gotten rid of my migraines, rheumatoid arthritis. I had lots of trouble with. I'm pretty good now. I would say like 99% good from all of these things. I had like restless leg syndrome, some nerve problems in my legs, and lots of weird pains and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I am super happy, and I have never felt better. Wow. And now that I'm 43 years old, and I should just be going downhill, but it's all getting better and better. So I love it.
Wow. So a little bit more about you, Rob, your life and all that. Just so people I used to live in Oslo, but now I'm back in north of Sweden. Wow. With my family, and I'm just kind of regrouping here and see what I will do, and save up some money so that I can go join the love of my life in the U.S. Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's definitely an amazing path you guys are on. So how long have you been vegan and raw vegan, both of you?
I've been vegan for over a decade now, and raw vegan, like off and on, like Rob had said, for about 5 or 6 years now. I don't really keep track of dates, but somewhere along that line.
Right. And Rob, how long? 3 years? Or?
Yeah, I've been vegan for just over like 25 years or so, and raw vegan, like doing it close to 100%, I guess around 13 years or so, yeah.
And you guys both live in cold climates?
Yeah.
Mine's cold, not so cold anymore, thanks to global warming, but much milder than it used to be. But yeah, we have some harsh winters for like 3 months, but summers are great.
Where are you again, Brenda?
I'm in the Midwest in Illinois in the States.
Okay, it's cold.
Not really. Like this summer has been like 190 degrees all summer long, so it was great.
Okay, so that's a boiling pot, because I know in when I used to live in Toronto, you would get winters that are very, very cold, below like, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, like below 20 or 30. And then in summertime, you would get like these excruciating hot, humid weather, which is like, you get one extreme and then the other extreme. And that's only lasts for 2 or 3 months of the whole year. Now I'm in Costa Rica, and you get like beautiful weather almost all year round.
Yeah, that's nice.
Of course, here you do get as well some cold spells when it rains a little here and there, but it's because I'm about 1,100 meters above sea level, so pretty, up there in the mountains. So
Nice.
close to San Jose, but hopefully build a peaceful village community very shortly. So, how do you guys stay for fruitarian or raw vegan? How do you guys stay in the cold climates? Is it
Wear
difficult?
clothes. Wear sweatshirts, wear jackets.
Is it difficult to maintain to eat fruit, to get fruit in colder climates?
Here it's not difficult because I mean we get produce all the time, like, and all year round the same type of produce, so it's really not difficult to obtain. And it's fairly inexpensive here for me. I know Rob has a different story, but
Okay. So Rob, for
Yeah.
you, is it easy to get fruit and a variety of fruit, especially winter?
Yeah, it's super easy. Like I have bananas all year round,
Right.
and that's about the only stable. Like that's my bread and potatoes, so to speak.
Right.
Also, berries, like berries and stuff, and greens, of course, always available. We import stuff all year round. And then also the fruit is quite a bit more expensive, of course. So I do spend a bit, especially here in north of Sweden. In Oslo, it was easier to get away a bit cheaper, because there are more of these ethnic import stores, and prices are
Right.
much lower. A lot more immigrants and stuff, so I'm grateful for that. So there it was a bit easier. Here it's like, I'm not going to be eating exotic fruit every day, because that's just, if I'm going to do that, it's going to be crazy expensive and probably not even possible. So,
Right.
but I make do with, what I can get here. And so it's not about the fruit. Whether you manage to stay raw is not about the fruit. It's about you. Whether you manage to like drop your excuses and just push in enough food to sustain yourself. And when the fruit quality is bad, you just eat more greens to kind of stay nutritionally satisfied.
Right.
And, stay physically active, and just eat enough to stay warm. And yeah, that's like the physical part of it. And then comes the whole thing about actually facing your shit and not giving in to your, excuses and basically your bad feelings trying to take over. Yeah.
Yeah. I know how fear can take over and how we just kind of give in to peer pressure and give in to the society and just eat whatever. But I've noticed that the simpler I feel and think, the simpler I eat. And but some people will say you can't sustain yourself on just eating bananas. What other fruits do you get, Rob, during the year or even during winter?
Yeah, well, the oranges are starting to come in now. The citrus, slowly. It's still a bit expensive and kind of unripe and not so good, but they're starting. The grapes, we used to have some really good ones. I mean, we import fruit from all around, so we get fruit from south of Europe, even from South Africa and stuff, and everywhere. So, like, I eat a lot of bananas because it works. And then, of course, the greens, it can be like Chinese cabbage, some spinach. I actually even eat zucchini because it has like good nutritional value, and if I grate it, it works really great in salads and stuff. So it works for me, and I just kind of keep putting in the fruit, mostly bananas, of course, but whatever is in season that I can get a hold of.
Right.
And we always import something, except for maybe around March it starts turning bad, and then April crappy, and then May kind of bad. But other than that, we have like import of different kind of seasonal fruits from different places. So
Right, and for everybody to know, what is the budget of raw vegans in where you're living, the cheapest budget for people, let's say, that really don't have much money? What can people get? How much?
I could do like $400 a month, cheapest. Like if I'm just shopping all the deals and whatnot, so like $100 a week, I could absolutely live off of.
Right. Yeah, I've actually found myself that when I was in Toronto, I was actually spending so much money compared to that I spend today. But that's also because I am a minimalist, and so even with my food, I try to minimize. But I do eat a lot, and over the years, I've actually noticed that I'm eating less and less because of the situation, finances, all that kind of stuff, but also because of the mentality as well. And it's about eating as much as you want, as much as you care for, and understanding that there are ways. I've even posted in my YouTube channel ways on getting free fruit by dumpster diving or whatever. Some people don't like that idea because it's unclean to them. But what do you guys think about, and Rob, by the way, what is your budget on food, and what is your idea about dumpster diving?
It's about the same, like $400, maybe 450. Here is a bit more expensive than in Oslo, and also I can eat quite a lot. Like I can when I'm active and training and stuff. I mean, I'm a small guy, 5'5", 165 centimeters, but I easily eat 3,000 calories, and I need it when I'm active.
Wow.
Like the other day when I was out for a run, you know, it was like a 19K run. You know, I had a good time, beautiful colors, beautiful weather in the, you know, with the fall coming here now, and I spent 1,000 calories running in the woods.
Wow.
I mean, if I spend that just running, I'm not going to be surviving on 1,500, you know, eating.
And
So,
do you run, or do you do like physical activity every single day?
well, I would like to. I don't always. But that's my ideal. Not every single day, perhaps, but it has to be more than once a week, or you know, it will probably lead to more injury than increase of fitness. Yeah.
Of course, with our busy lives, stressful lives, who has time to even? I mean, we all try to do what we can throughout the day. You know, eating the healthiest we can, moving our body in some form or shape, and just being around like-minded people as much as we possibly can. And for some people that's difficult, and that's why there are online communities such as Facebook groups and things that people can get some sanity talking to other people or like-minded people. How do you guys deal with the people that are around you? Do they criticize you, or since you've been vegan long time, how does that the community, your families, your friends, how do they treat you?
I think
Definitely.
It works.
Rob,
Brenda, go ahead.
Okay,
No, go ahead.
Brenda.
Okay. Yeah. Like my family, there are hunters. Like it's a hunting season now, so my dad is like basically cutting up meat in the kitchen tonight.
Wow.
That's not all that like warm and fuzzy feeling for me. But at least I get to show also how it can be done, and how I think, of course, it should be done. Like respect and love and compassion for all, and show that actually I'm not struggling. Like I don't know if I'm the fittest person I know, but like of all the people I'm in contact with, you know, on a semi-regular basis, I'm like light years ahead in terms of fitness and health and everything. So I just try to, you know, live and show by example.
Excellent. Brenda?
Yeah, for me, my family is pretty judgmental, but I've learned to just come to terms with that. I'm going to do what I want to do, and they're going to do what they want to do, and I don't really ever try to counsel my family because it just doesn't work out. So just kind of live in agreement with one another, you know, and like you have your life, I have my life, and at first, of course, they told me I was going to die from, you know, doing what I was doing, and there was no way that I would survive, but
So-
I've proved them wrong, so they've seen
So that
the
means So that means I'm talking to your spirit right there. Your ghost.
Pretty much. I'm so protein deficient.
Yeah,
I can hardly get off my chair.
Exactly. We should have crawled to the camera.
For real.
So how do you see dumpster diving? How do you see Brenda? How do you see yourself at all, or anyone at all, being able to get free food anywhere?
I personally haven't done it. I know people that do it, and yeah, I see nothing wrong with it, because usually just like the fruits and stuff that they're throwing away are the ugly fruits that people don't want to buy. And yeah, I mean, if that's how you get your fruit, go for it, you know. And
Right.
I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I would love to live in the tropics where I could just get my fruit right off the tree. That would be beautiful. And hopefully one day Rob and I will be doing that.
Excellent.
So yeah, I see nothing wrong with it, and more power to you. I think that it's bullshit that, you know, all these stores just waste all of the foods that are ugly to people, and it's just thrown away and it's not going to good use. Like, I know here where I live, like, they're not allowed to give it to homeless people, they're not allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous and absurd.
Exactly. Rob, what is your view on dumpster diving?
I have actually done it a couple of times, I think. Maybe like, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't do it really, because I like to keep my food supply kind of dependable, and so that I know that when I get back from the workout, I don't have any worries. I always have like bananas ripening. I always have the greens, and I have what I need, you know, to just kind of, I like to make it easy and kind of simple for myself. Right. But I think it's amazing that people actually, you know, take the time and care to do it, and actually make use of the resources that are otherwise just thrown away, because that's just crazy stuff. And of course, exactly. Here there aren't really much opportunity for dumpster diving, but in Oslo there were maybe some, but with everything, I mean, I also like to live in the tropics, of course. This is, I think I'm like 63 degrees north here, so summer is quite short. It's amazingly beautiful, but I mean, it's very short. Winters are long, and just running around, kind of trying to pop open frozen, garbage cans outside of stores and stuff. I don't really see it as a viable thing, at least if you're eating raw. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I see it. I see it where if the person is really inspired and really has this to want to stay raw, you can at any point in time. When we are doing good work as individuals, and you know, we stop supporting the violence, and we stop, and we understand, of course, the interconnectedness of all the life, and understanding that we're in all the beings and are interrelated in some way. We can definitely see that once we walk on this path to ever higher consciousness, then we will start to realize that, hey, once I do more good, then good is going to come back to me. And we don't ever, of course, expect it, but it comes back to us in so many different ways. And I myself have been blessed in the past 11 years as a vegan and raw vegan. And again, it depends on the environment and the situation and the finances and all that, how raw we can be. And the more food that we can eat, the better it is. And of course, for me, I've found ways, and when we're adamant on doing what we can in order to survive, because I know people that are so-called, I don't even like the term homeless, but houseless, living on the streets or whatever. I've known people that have actually gone and stayed vegan while doing that. And so it is possible to do this and do what we can to reduce all the violence that we have on this earth. And yeah, people would think that in colder climates it would be impossible to stay vegan and raw, but what are your, I guess I'll start with Brenda first, but what is your top tips to staying raw vegan?
In the winter or just in general?
In general, in wintertime, whatever, yeah.
For me, it's keep it simple. Simplicity is the key to everything in life as far as I'm concerned. So not overcomplicating recipes, not overcomplicating things. Like model meals are great, smoothies are great, you know, whatever you're craving, eat it. Like it doesn't have to be this extravagant thing where you have like 20 different ingredients to throw it in. Like think about if we're animals living in nature, we're going to sit under one tree until we're satisfied, and then we're going to leave that tree full and content, you know. So think about it that way. I always like to, you know, when I'm working with my clients to say, like, imagine yourself, you are an animal. What would you do in nature? You're not going to run around gathering ingredients to cook in nature. You're going to be sitting eating a good raw meal until you're content, and then you're going to go on about your day. So keep it simple is number one. Number two, nutrition and exercise are the easy part of lifestyle changes and the easy part of life as far as I'm concerned. The hard part comes with, you know, working on yourself, self-actualizing, finding your purpose, dealing with traumas and working through your emotions and all of that good stuff. So really, it's stay away from mainstream information, stay away from man-made foods, and start eating as you would as if you were an animal in nature.
Right, right. Excellent. And I just want to mention that monomilling is eating one type of food at a time. So eating whatever meal of just bananas, or eating a meal of just berries, or eating a meal of whatever, but one type of food.
Yeah.
And
I try to keep it like 5 ingredients or less, like just for digestion and, you know, for energy purposes, because the less digestion I have to do, the more energy I have to do, and the more healing that is taking place within my body. So I always try to keep it, and fruit is obviously the fastest digesting food. It digests usually within 20 minutes. So, like, that's how I always like to keep it, because I'm a very active person as well, and I myself am 5'2". I know Rob mentioned earlier he eats 3,000 calories. I eat 2,000 calories at 5'2", you know, so, and that's daily, and because I'm active every day, so.
Excellent, excellent. Rob?
What she said, 100%.
Excellent. I know it is amazing to live on fruit. And like for you guys, what has been the most life-changing for you once you made that transition? Rob?
Well, I want to come back to some of the things he was talking about, you know, like some of the keys to staying raw, because that's also what I have come back to. It has been a tremendous healing journey. And if you are not prepared to face your shit and do your healing, you will most likely have a really hard time actually staying raw over the long haul. Like, you can distract yourself with all sorts of heavy foods or weird combination, or finding up new, you know, making up new recipes or whatever. But you can only do that for so long to keep yourself distracted and running away from yourself that is just kind of coming up behind you and kicking you in the ass, because you're going to have to face your shit. You're going to have to face your difficulties, your struggles. And that is like, I think that might be like number 2, because number 1 is actually eating enough. Because if you're not physically eating enough, you're not going to make it. It just won't happen. You will have to somehow then decrease your activity level or increase your food intake. And that level will be different for different people, depending on digestion, depending on mentality, physical activity, just how much you do you bounce up the stairs, or do you prefer to just, you know, kind of sit more still all day long? These things make a huge difference. So it will be different needs for different people, different digestive systems, and different bodies. But in general, you have to eat enough, and you have to make sure that you get, you know, good nutrients. Otherwise, it will not last. It's impossible, because you do have a physical body. Yeah, maybe you can transmute some energy or whatever, like some people talk about breatharianism, but really that is not a realistic strategy to like staying healthy and active and functioning. Like it goes downhill. So eating enough and really face your shit. Like you have to be prepared to do the healing. That's basically it. And also, of course, like the social aspects, try to stay in touch with people so that you do not feel lonely. It can be okay to be alone. I have been alone a lot, but I have seldom felt super lonely. And that is important too, because otherwise you're going to seek connection, and the connection you seek will be with people who, might criticize you for the lifestyle, and then it will also be really hard to keep it up.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah, and to add to that, also
sure.
to remember that, food is addicting. Cooked food is addicting. Processed foods are super addicting. Scientists purposely make those foods addicting with the proper amount of carbohydrates, fats, and salts. So making sure that you're ready to face your food addiction too, and actually getting over that. I would say like 99.9% of human population is addicted to food. And going to raw, you're going to have to face that addiction. Like you're going to have many times where you're going to face that addiction, and it's not an easy thing to do. And also make sure you're getting blood testing as well, to make sure that you have optimal, B12 levels and vitamin D levels, so that you do know if you need to supplement or not.
Right. I heard actually that B12 testing, a lot of B12 testing is actually inaccurate, and they just skew the numbers. And so I believe in a few years ago I was talking to someone, and basically there was like one reliable place that you can get real accurate testing for B12. And I've noticed that when you go in and get blood tests, because I've got it done in the past, every doctor is different, and not every doctor is going to give you a full blood test. Some are going to give you like partial blood tests. Then there's like a vitamin D test, and there's like so many different tests, so you have to know what you're doing and where you're going to. I think I would say trust your intuition and just eat what comes naturally from nature as much as you can. Do you guys at all do any foraging, if possible, during summers, like for edibles or anything?
Yeah, a little bit. Not much, but now that I'm here, we've been picking some berries, and like me and Dad's girlfriend would go out pick berries, and we picked like 24 kilos of blueberries in 2 hours, and what's 24 kilos is like more than 50 pounds,
Wow.
So it's the berries here in the north are amazing, absolutely amazing. Like the forest floor is just covered. But
what kind of berries?
It's mostly blueberries actually. The wild blueberries, they grow all over the forest, like everywhere.
So they're very small, huh?
They're quite small, and they are not white inside. They are like super dark red to almost black inside. And they taste amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And and with regards to this, with the like B12 and stuff, like you were saying about these tests, also because there are so many, like, so much misinformation out there. People saying that, just eat the spirulina and you will have B12, and for example, and it's true, you will have B12, an analog that doesn't actually work, and it will show up on blood tests as B12. And yes, different labs might show different results with the testing, but it can be good to test anyways to get like a ballpark and maybe see your trends. If you're constantly dropping in B12 over the years or over the intervals you test, it might be good to supplement a bit and check that it actually working that you're supplementing. Because for me, my absorption does not work.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, not yet, at least, and maybe will in the future. But I will have to take injections now, otherwise, it does not work.
Right.
And the real B12 blood test, you take a serum B12 to check just the levels in the blood, and then you must also take the MMA, the methylmalonic acid, and the homocysteine. to see if they get elevated. If they start getting elevated while your B12 is low, that is a sure sign that you are actually deficient, like functionally deficient. And that is not a good thing. If you want heart attacks and stuff, in spite of being vegan and healthy, it's really good to go around with the elevated homocysteine levels. You get your heart attack, just like a meat eater.
I just want to add something to that. I have a video on my YouTube channel, the most viewed, over 1 million something views, actually over almost 2 million now, and with Dr. Michael Greger, and he talks about how someone, it's back in 2003, but it actually makes pretty good sense today, even though I don't really see science as I used to in the past, because I trust my own intuition actually more than science, because science can be flawed either way. But he goes to saying that if we don't check and, of course, first of all, eat real foods and check our levels of omega-3s and the B12, the ratio, then, of course, vegans can be prone to heart attacks and all kinds of other illnesses. Yeah, and that's actually a funny thing that you said about the MMA, Rob, because I actually went, many years ago, I haven't gotten blood tests for a long time, but many years ago when I did get my blood test, I asked several different doctors, medical doctors, practicing medical doctors, about the MMA and if they do that, and they had no idea what I was talking about. And I actually, because at the time I didn't really know too much about it too, so I wrote it down and I told them, and I even showed them the paper, and they still didn't know what it was. And so a lot of doctors really don't know much pertaining to nutrition. And so, yeah, it's good to look at a lot of these YouTube videos with vegan doctors that actually talk about it. But also, I recently saw a short video about the contradictions between different vegan doctors and what they claim. One doctor claims that you need 1,000 micrograms of B12 each week. Some claim you need to take 2,000. Some people say you need to take methylcobalamin, and some people say cyanocobalamin. And there's so much misinformation out there that we really don't know. And I talked to a friend a while back, and he was mentioning that you have to supplement, for example, with vitamin D, because even though he was getting, for example, he was out in the sun almost all the time in the tropical weather. He was out and about all the time. But because our bodies, from eating years or even decades unhealthy, our bodies sometimes cannot absorb certain nutrients. And so our bodies have to repair from all that toxicity that we have within our bodies, especially if we're still eating cooked foods and processed foods and all that. That's probably the worst thing to do, because then we keep repairing and we're not really functioning at our peak. And so he was saying that he basically was like out for like hours each day, and his vitamin D levels were very, very inadequate, and so he had to supplement with vitamin D. So, Brenda, you want to talk about that a little bit?
As far as supplementing, once again, I am a firm believer in, blood testing and getting it done as preventative and being able to track what's going on internally in your body. So through blood testing, I would say if you need to supplement, definitely supplement, especially B12 and vitamin D. I mean, they're essential nutrients. Like, you don't want to fuck with your B12 levels. Sorry. You don't want to mess with your B12 levels. Yeah. Definitely not. But as far as, being out in nature, vitamin D, I pretty much supplement year round because, I live in a winter environment and I'm a super busy individual. And, for me to lay out naked for 20 to 40 minutes every day, sometimes that's just not possible. Right. So I will supplement with vitamin D, and just to keep my levels at a stable line throughout. Like, I don't want them dropping or increasing. I just want stability. That's what I aim for.
Right. And what is your view on omega-3s?
That we need them, definitely. They're very essential to the brain once again.
True, but fruit-only diet, can that supply enough omega-3, do you think?
Actually, Rob and I were having this discussion not too long ago, and a debate, I should say.
Okay, so let's get on that debate now.
All right.
Because now people want to see us like beating the hell out of each other, so let's do it. Even though we're non-violent and we never beat each other, so the beats always come with a hug instead.
Debates are amazing. I love debates. For me, it's, I don't supplement currently with omega-3s. I haven't had deficiencies of mental capacity. My mental capacity has only been increasing ever since, I've been on my healing journey for the past decade. But I have been contemplating supplementing with omega-3s. However, I haven't started, so I'm still researching into it.
Right. The way I just want to chime in on that for a moment. The way I see things is if we really need omega-3 or any nutrient, we have to understand where does the original source come from and try to get it from the most original source possible. For example, you can get vitamin D. There's different types of vitamin D. One I definitely would not recommend would be the D3. And you guys can chime in after that, your views on that. But basically, the way I see it, because I've done in the past, I did all my research in science and health and nutrition and all that, and I found that there's, for example, in different nutrients. For example, because people would want to know the basics. Protein, the original source comes from plants. Animals eat the plants, we eat the animals. So let's cut out the middle live being, and let's get it from the plants. Secondly, omega-3, we get it directly from the source. If we need, for example, fruit has varying degrees, small amounts of omega-3s within fruits, and of course veggies. And if we want to get it right from the source, we can get it from algae or seaweed or anything like that if we still do eat those foods. Vitamin D, again, from the sun is the best source, but I know it's not possible everywhere around the world to get the best sun all year round. And so vitamin D supplements from a reputable company, of course, preferably vegan company, if possible. And there's two types, D2 and D3. D3 comes mainly from the suffering of animals, which is lanolin from sheep. And but you can get definitely vegan D3, which they say is actually more superior. D3 is supposed to be more superior for some reason, but you can get it from lichen. So that's the like a seaweed kind of thing in the oceans. Mm-hmm. So that you can do, or you can get vitamin D2, which is supposed to be the sunshine vitamin. And then there's other nutrients as well. Rob, tell us your view on all those nutrients as well as others that we might be lacking.
Yeah, it's funny because when it comes to omega-3, I am probably a bit more relaxed than Brenda, but I have been supplementing a bit of DHA and EPA lately. So, and she hasn't. Anyways.
The reason I haven't is because I haven't found a source yet that I trust here. So I'm still looking for the source that I actually trust here that's not filled with a bunch of fillers. Rob found that in Sweden, so.
Right. So Rob is a smarter one, I guess.
He has access.
No, Brenda is definitely the smart one. But so this is the deal. Like you can say, yeah, you want this much. No, you don't want this much. You want a ratio. You want this in relation to that. You want this, we all may have slightly different needs. When it comes to omega-3, as soon, like I eat pretty low fat, like usually never above 10% fat. I'm not afraid of fats, but the thing is, when people say, yeah, I need some essential fatty acids, yeah, but which are the ones? That's basically like people saying, I need proteins, and then they go and eat animals, which actually is a pretty poor source of protein. So what you want is a good ratio of omega-3 to omega-6, because in a lot of the plants, like most plant oils, for example, or fatty foods that are from plant source, they are very often, very high in omega-6. And what this does is it basically wrecks your absorption and conversion of omega-3. And there is very little omega-3 in fruits and greens, especially greens, and we can get adequate, definitely, no questions asked, adequate omega-3, and we can have decent conversion to the longer chained omega-3s, the EPAs and the DHAs.
Right.
There are several steps in between too, but
Right.
but the problem is when we eat a more fatty diet, then we are kind of hindering the absorption and also the conversion of these omega-3 fatty acids. So then if we're eating more fats, then it might be wise to actually also supplement with a bit of omega-3. And I do not think that is going to harm you at all. Like, some supplements are actually harmful. You don't want the calcium supplements. And let's face it, vegans, they supplement calcium like crazy because it's in all the plant milks and stuff.
Right.
And that is supplemented calcium. And this will also raise your risk of heart disease. And combine that with the high plant fats, the omega-6s, which are pro-inflammatory. And again, you increase the risk of heart disease. Vegans are not heart disease proof. Whole foods vegans are more heart disease proof.
Right.
And of course, a low-fat raw vegan who really doesn't take supplements like that or eat high-fat and stuff will probably do much better, as long as they also keep their B12 good, so they don't get these elevated homocysteine levels. And these are just some of the things that we actually know. There might be 1,000 more factors. But yeah, I don't even know. I kind of lost my thread there. I was just off on a tangent a bit.
Yeah, I find actually, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, and Rob and I also both use flax seeds and hemp seeds, which are also a source. And as the comment earlier, getting protein from plants, I do agree with, as long as people are eating adequate calories, because you have to take in an adequate amount of calories to meet your daily protein needs, which is why I eat, like 2,000 calories a day. There's a lot of raw people that are out there, not understanding, that 5 bananas isn't 500 calories. Sometimes it's 300 calories. Sometimes it's more than that, and
I guess it depends on how much we absorb, right?
Yeah, but still, you can eat 2,000 calories and only get, 30 grams of protein from that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you need more than that, especially if you're very athletic, which raw vegans should be, but everybody should be athletic, you might need a little oomph on your daily protein needs. So.
Right, and I've noticed that actually we within us, of course, if everything works to how it's supposed to be, we can actually convert EPA to DHA. And of course, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, just whatever I learned, but we can convert that. And so it's not like we need actually DHA supplements, for omega-3s, for example. So we don't really need to eat fish or other animal products. And actually, when we're eating fish, especially when we are eating frozen fish, especially frozen fish, the frozen fish actually decays and the omegas actually release. So actually what you're doing is you're not getting the adequate amount of omega-3s.
Well, not to mention the high amount of mercury that you're eating as well by eating a whole
Oh,
bunch
for
of fish.
sure. Of
Yeah.
course, excellent, yeah.
And that's also a good point also about the omega-3s. They should be eaten straight from a whole food. And then if it's a seed like flax, like I eat flax basically every day actually. In my smoothie, or I make like a blueberry sauce with some flax and I pour it over my bananas,
Right.
And yeah, it's fats and it's sweets, but it's so little fat anyways. It's not messing up my digestion or anything. But the thing is, and this also with the science, this is a good example. People are unhealthy, so they're not going to absorb and convert those minuscule amounts of omega-3 into EPA and DHA, like you were talking about. But if you're actually healthy, if you're not full of mercury from the fish, if you're not full of mercury from the old vaccines and stuff, if you haven't like stuffed yourself with wheat and wrecked your digestive system, you know, all these things. If you are healthy, you can't just take some science. Yeah, science says this. No, science never says this. Science says we did this and this and this and this and this under these conditions, and then we are having these results. Yeah, everybody is like fat and unhealthy, overweight, you know, like living sedentary, crappy lives, stuffing themselves with nutrient void foods, maybe I should say. Of course, they're not going to be absorbing and functioning all that well, you know. But it's a whole different matter. And for people who are interested in this with the omega-3, I highly recommend they check out Rick Dina. He's got some really good videos on YouTube. Rick and Karen Dina, his wife, also, like, yeah, they're a good couple when it comes to this, and they have some really good info. And they've been also dealing with clients, you know, and checking nutritional status and health status with regards to these things. And yeah, check them out.
Yeah, Rick and Karen Dina are amazing. I've seen several of their videos and really, really highly recommend checking them out for the, you know, nutrition and just general fat information, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Rob. You know, I think the science can only go so far as to our level of consciousness and our level of health. So if we're unhealthy, then science in general will be emulating that part of who we are. And
yes, it will be very misguided then, because like the science will be wrecked basically. If you take like an unhealthy paradigm and you say that, I don't know, yeah, like they test how much calcium decrease iron absorption, and many, you know, a lot of research on this says it doesn't matter. Like people, you know, they decrease their cow's milk intake and it doesn't do anything for the iron absorption. But this is actually wrong and misleading, because they were going from a very high level of intake of cow's milk and calcium to just a moderate high level, where it should actually be at a much lower level before you start seeing these effects. So basically nobody is suffering from calcium deficiency, but we're so worried about calcium, and all this calcium intake is actually wrecking the iron absorption in people, which is actually a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Brenda, do you have anything to add to that?
Mine is just that basically everybody's gut health is destroyed from infancy. You know, like there's a lot of women who aren't even breastfeeding, and when you're not breastfeeding and your baby's getting bottle fed, I mean, their gut health, you know, their flora isn't going to be optimal. And then from there we go into eating man-made foods and processed foods and everything else. So your gut health is just deteriorating, you know, a lot of times in the womb because of what your mother is eating as nutrients, you know what I'm saying? So the biggest thing to remember is that we need to heal the gut. And the best way to heal the gut is through rest of digestion and through ease of digestion. So that's why the fruit diet is so optimal to healing the gut as well.
Exactly. And the gut is where all the intuition comes from. So we really need to be eating cleaner, and the more cleaner we eat, and of course that couples not just with the eating, but that couples also with our emotions and thoughts and feelings, as well as our environment and who we decide to hang around. And so I mean, of course, we got to do whatever we can, and the best that we can in our world. And
I mean, the gut and the brain are interconnected, right? So that's why a lot of people, when we move over to the fruit diet, like you'll see a lot of depression healing, and you'll see a lot of anxiety healing, and trauma and all this kind of stuff healing. And a lot of that is from the gut health. Because you're healing your gut health, you're ultimately healing your mental health as well, because they are interconnected.
And there is also there is like this coming field now, kind of cutting edge science about how the body actually works, how our consciousness kind of works, like the gut, the heart, brain, and how there are some theories now that the brain and the heart and the gut too, actually they don't work so much, throughout the body with just nerve signals, but it's actually magnetic fields. And these magnetic fields, when you have a working nervous system, like a brain and a heart that works actually together, and you have lower stress levels, they start to harmonize much more, and you start creating these stronger magnetic fields in the body and outside of your body too. And especially the heart is really important for this. It's like the strongest magnetic field in the body is the heart. So things like this is really interesting. And like I mentioned before, how I was always sensing, like the subtle energies of the world and in myself. And when I went vegan, I became more sensitive. I could feel more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, hey, what's this? My meditation is changing, and I'm having an easier time just kind of switching on the feeling, because I just feel it kind of like a very concrete thing, like a breeze on my hand, basically. And I could feel it so much easier. And as a fruitarian, or as a raw vegan rather, because I'm not really fruitarian, like I'm raw vegan or low-fat raw vegan, I noticed that this is enhanced to a much larger degree than from just going vegan. And so the intuition, the connection, and this will breed also compassion and presence and like you said, we want to create a better world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think all these things are really, really strengthened, reinforced by such a connected lifestyle, and that actually promotes health on a not just a physical level, but it seems like on a more spiritual level too.
Definitely, yeah. Biopsychosocial, spiritual, sexual, and emotional.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to actually get into now, is more of two topics actually, because I know people really want to hear about what's going on there with the COVID-19, but also about the mental, spiritual whole combination with eating only fruit, or mostly fruit, I should say. Because just to let people, to clear up what fruitarian and what raw vegan is, because some people might be confused, and some people are confused about what's even veganism, because it's surprising that veganism, the word itself, has been around for decades, actually since November 1944, since Donald Watson coined the term. And he basically did so for ethical reasons. He said that there was much cruelty involved, especially during that time with dairy production. And so he understood that there was a lot of cruelty involved even at that time. So imagine, that was 1944, imagine 2020 forward all the way till now, on how much harm and how much violence must be going on in these places. But not only that, so realizing basically that veganism is the refraining of all using in a dietary sense, it's refraining from eating anything that comes from animals, any animal ingredients, any products coming from animals, but also other things in our lives that have anything to do with animal exploitation in some way, form, or shape. Entertainment, testing, pet industry, whatever you have, anything that uses and exploits and harms animals and non-human animals in some way. And then fruitarianism basically, actually raw veganism basically is like one step further. And there's actually more steps in between. My good friend Dr. Bill Tuttle talks about the vegan stages, and I actually expand that to include other stages as well, as my good friend Mangal Wodzak talks about Eden fruitarianism and what that really is. And we'll touch on those terms in a moment. But basically, raw veganism is where we don't eat anything that is cooked or I guess altered or processed in such a way where it's like being heated. And then of course even a whole food vegan, in my view, would be not even cooking anything, because then it would alter the state of the food and it wouldn't be whole anymore. And so that is a debate anyways that we can go into. Yeah, so raw veganism, not eating anything cooked, we do so because a lot of people feel better, and of course, yeah, there's many very varying reasons, and I go into that in detail in my books. And then there's the fruitarianism, which people have, again, as Mango says, he says that fruitarianism, the word, just like veganism, has been very misused and abused. And so it can mean basically anything. And there's people even eating grains and bread and all kinds of things and calling themselves fruitarian. And so fruitarianism is basically what it says, fruit, the root word, fruit. So nothing that is outside of that constitutes as fruitarianism, technically. But as Mango said, people are just, misusing the word and abusing it, and so he came up with a term called Eden Fruitarian, which is an ethical extension of veganism, which really not only sees other beings, non-human animals, as things not as animals, not like things to be used, but as sentient beings, but also plants, and seeing plant life as not as sentient, but as an entity to also being cared for and loved for, and trying to basically have the lightest footprint as you can on Earth. And so fruit is the best for that, because fruit basically is anything that has a seed in it, or once had a seed in it, surrounded by flesh. And we actually just, if we were in nature, most people are living in unnatural environments and they flush everything down the toilets or just throw everything in the garbage. But basically, if we were doing everything properly, we'd be composting properly, throwing seeds out in nature, excreting in nature, everything what we've eaten in the past, and all of that. So can you guys, one of you, maybe Rob first, start by explaining your views on all the different diets, veganism, raw veganism, fruitarianism, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he started the word like vegan with that thing. That was because the word vegetarian got watered out, and now vegan is being watered out too. So. Like I hear of ento-vegans. So those are supposedly vegans who also eat insects. Well, then you're not vegan, I would say. That's like saying that I don't even know. Like I'm a benevolent killer, kind of, or something. It contradicts. Anyways, and I agree with you. Like I sometimes, to make it easier, I kind of say I'm raw vegan fruitarian or whatever, because then people understand that I eat basically fruit. But I do also eat some greens. I do also eat some seeds. So I'm not strictly fruitarian.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why I like actually using the term like low-fat raw vegan, because that kind of paints a pretty good picture of what is actually going on. But it's also it sounds a bit complicated, So in some situations, it might be easier to just say, fruitarian, or sometimes I just say that I'm vegan, but I eat only raw fruits and greens, or something like this. Yeah, I notice also like this Eden fruitarianism. Now, I don't want to be like the one who says no, it can't be done or anything, and I'm not. Here, that actually becomes a bit more difficult because the fruit has traveled a long way. It's been picked unripe, yada, yada, yada. It's really lesser quality of fruit. To survive here, it's not optimal. Like that pound or 2 pounds of greens every day is kind of necessary here. But when I do go to our place in Ecuador, we have 7.4 acres, by the way, in Ecuador.
By the way, I would love to talk to you about it later on.
Okay, yeah. So I won't say more about it now then. I notice I eat less greens intuitively, naturally. Like I just have less need for greens. I eat some greens because I'm used to it, and I just kind of keep it up. And I rather do it kind of in a redundant way. But I know, like, I eat a lot even when I went to south of Europe with the shorter traveled fruit and better nutrient quality, like nutrient levels in the fruit. I would eat a lot less greens, and in Ecuador I'm eating much less greens. So that's quite interesting. Like, and I'm not saying one should push, because then it becomes this kind of purity thing. And when you have like purity thinking, that is not of the heart. That is not of the spirit. Purity is of the ego, and therefore you will run a great risk of getting lost, right? So then it can become this, what they call orthorexia, or like this purism eating disorder kind of thing, because it's not actually serving your health, it's not serving anything, it's just harming you. Okay, but yeah, so it is interesting like this, and I do agree, like that is the least violent, the most benevolent. You eat the fruit, you shit the seed, or you plant it or something. That is like, then you are just, you're not just a minimal burden on the circle of life. You are actually an integral part in a positive way. Yes, because we humans, we are in a symbiosis with the fruiting trees and berries.
Exactly.
We is like, if you're gonna eat grass, I mean, that might actually be good for the grass too, to eat it, because it needs that stimulus, to work and to grow. But maybe if I was to eat too much of the greens around me, then I would be a burden on that system. If I was eating the leaves of the trees here, I would be a burden. If there were too many people, we would kill the trees. But when we eat fruit, the more people there are, the more fruit trees there will be, because we are in a symbiosis. We are enhancing them through our consuming their fruit, because that's the cooperation, and that's the beauty of it. And that's like basically the zero karma, or
Yeah. It's actually the thought that I had about how all beings, all the naturally free roaming beings in nature, how they are working in harmony with the earth. And I thought one day, like, we will get to that paradise where even the carnivorous animal will sit next to the herbivorous animal in harmony without any killing, and everyone will be herbivorous. Everyone will eat the plants of the earth. Then I got to thinking, would that throw everything off balance, eating all the vegetation of the world? Because I've learned in the past, and I don't know if this is outdated thinking or if we're just not highly conscious enough to understand, but if all the herbivorous animals were to eat all the vegetation, and then the vegetation would be gone, and there would be not enough carnivorous animals to balance the population. What do you think about that, Brenda?
I think, there's carnivores, there's herbivores, right? And I think carnivores need to be carnivores and herbivores should be herbivores. And we as humans are actually closer to fruitarians, correct? So, I think that everybody needs to start living in symbiosis on their natural path. Do you know what I'm saying? So carnivores should be in symbiosis with their natural path, herbivores with their natural path, fruitarians with their natural path. And I think that that's the way that the world is going to actually start changing, and we're actually going to start saving planet Earth. Do you know what I'm saying? Because right now what we're doing is not working out. Like, everything is completely messed up. I mean, the wolves, for example, in Wyoming, they were completely gone because of hunters, and then they had to reintroduce them because all the other animals were getting in abundance. Do you know what I'm saying? So humans are the problem and humans are the answer. And that starts with each individual waking the F up and becoming the best version of themselves, and then us working together within unity. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the only way things are going to change.
Yes, excellent. I love that.
Here.
And my new book, The Awakening, the Good in Humanity, actually goes into this. And what people, I don't know what it is, but why people feel so scared or so hurt or so like judgmental towards people that are trying to instill love within them, or at least reawaken love within them. Why are they so uh, like? Why do they want to just push back the message? Why not embrace love?
Because we've been fear-mongered. Do you know what I'm saying? We're stuck in this matrix of how society wants us to be, so that societies can run the way that, you know, the majority want them to run, the 1% or whoever it may be wants it to run. So we've been fear-mongered to believe these things, like, ever since we started education, because it starts within the education system, and our parents are fear-mongered as well. So we're raised from infancy all the way up to believe in this system that is not optimal to human living.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So whenever we awaken and we come outside of that, you know, those people that are surrounding us, say it's mother, father, brother, sisters, you know, they're going to get defensive because they're defending the matrix, right? So they're not awakened to what you awaken to. So I call it like bringing you from the light back down to darkness, right? That's how my concepts and how I visualize it. So you've awakened, you've come into this light, you've stepped outside of the matrix, you see all this craziness, and you're trying to awaken all these other people, but they're just not ready yet. You know, they're not on the same path that you are, unfortunately. So what happens is they get really defensive because they're defending this system. And because of the fear-mongering, we've, you know, grown to defend that system because we're a part of the system. We're a part of the matrix, right? So the darkness will always try to bring the light back down. And that's why all of us that are awakened, I feel it's even more of a duty that we try to awaken, you know, and plant seeds into the matrix so that other people can start awakening too.
Excellent. I love that. And
I find this to be such an important point. This that,
right.
You know, when you start to wake up, when you have thoughts of awakening in yourself, you will also have thoughts in yourself bringing that down, or getting a short high and then it's too uncomfortable and you just bring it down because that's what you are used to. You are defending the matrix. You're defending the darkness, so to speak. I don't really see it as much as darkness, but that's a good way to kind of visualize it, because I also think all these things, they are on our path, on our journey. We have to go through all these things, otherwise we can never arrive to where we are going, right? But the thing also with the love and the light, it is healing. I just came off a healing session today with a client, and it's absolutely amazingly beautiful, and she's a brave spirit for doing it, because love will heal, and heal means changing, and changing is fucking scary, right? And so it will be scary. People will resist, but I mean, the only thing that can overcome it is just more love, and it's not actually overcoming. It is not winning over them. It is just bringing them into the fold, you know, bringing them into the light, to the us. Like you were talking about before, I want to do this because then something good is going to come back to me, you know, I'm going to benefit. It's not even on that level, it's way beyond. I'm doing this because I want to enrich us, you know. I'm not doing this because I want to have some, you know, good karma coming back to me. That's not even how karma works in my in my view, you know, in my belief. Right. But I'm not doing it for the reward. The reward is the beauty that we can create together. You know, it's an us. So that's
right. So before we get into the next topic, the last topic actually, I just want to welcome another guest. Can you please introduce the guest, Brenda?
Who is it? Juan?
The one.
Jester.
The one who
this one. This is Jester.
He's a beautiful creature too. So
he is. He's a rescue. So he's my baby. He's like 11 now. So
wow.
We've been together for a long time.
And cats usually don't live past 15 or 20, right?
It's usually 20, yeah.
20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, a lot in human care are 15 because of the crap food that they take in. So, but
Right.
yeah, it's 20 with a lot of love.
Exactly. And if people want to learn more about the industry behind pet food, please be my guest to do the research because it's horrific. It's worse than what we're doing with our food. I mean, it's all bad, for sure,
Yeah.
but they give the worst of the worst. They put it back into the pet food industry. And so it's as best as you can to do what you can for your companion animals to either transition them to some more ethical way, or just transition them to veganism, or if possible, release them back and be free in nature, the way, you know, all of us should be living actually. But it's not always possible. So my book, Return to the Gentle Sea, For the Love That Lives in Everyone, goes into more detail on that. And just to let people know that whenever we're on a journey, there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be things that we have to deal with, situations that are not going to be comfortable, or things that are going to be very difficult and we don't really have the answers for. And so we have to do the best that we can each time. And so, as we were talking about, Rob was talking about how we're being programmed and everything since birth and fed to our parents and so forth. I want to start with Rob first and talk about the situation with the COVID-19 in general and this whole situation around that, and how veganism and fruit plays a positive role in healing that.
Before that, real quick, I wanted to add in through, you know, people being uncomfortable around you and, you know, trying to bring you back down and everything else. You know, a large percent of us are living in trauma, and a trauma response is to get very defensive. So, you know, there's not one person alive that hasn't been through some sort of trauma, you know. So being stuck in that fight or flight state, a lot of people choose to fight when, you know, something in their world is being challenged. So.
Okay, so Rob, you want to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 situation and how we can heal ourselves from that, and your views on all the whole situation that we're having right now?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to comment really quickly on what Brenda just said. I also come to understand that we all have trauma, and it doesn't have to be that you were raped or beaten or, you know, grew up in a basement, you know. There is so much trauma everywhere. Just going through school is trauma because of how it works. We are a socially and emotionally an incredibly underdeveloped species. Like, our culture is you know, is basically wrecked and it's not healthy for us, and it's traumatic, and we are in trauma, and this helps us also to have compassion with people who respond in a very defensive or negative way, you know.
Right.
Everything is actually coming from love. They're trying to protect themselves even when they are being super nasty. So that makes it easier to have compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah. COVID. Yes.
The best topic.
Yeah, like, stay away from that topic, man. It's crazy. No, but
it is crazy.
Yeah. So the thing is, there are so many things going on here. Like with everything, when something happens in the world, there is like a long line of agendas that are lined up and ready to hit the button when something happens, when they have an excuse to take away some more of your rights, when they have an excuse to invade another country, when they have an excuse to, you know, make more money off of you in some way, or, you know, and there are so many things. It's not one agenda or one agenda like big master plan. There might be that too. That would be very difficult to say with certainty, but there are so many less than benevolent motives, and everything is being pushed, and even these people who are doing it out of love, because they are protecting what they think is important. So they're doing it out of love, but what they're doing is maybe misguided. And then they are even trying to oppress other people and force them to do things, basically out of love and protection for themselves or their grandma or whatever. But the thing is, if you really want to be healthy, you just have to eat fruits and greens. I mean, there's no way around it. You have to get back to nature. You have to have sunlight. You have to have healthy social relationships, sexual relationships, or romantic, should I say, spiritual connection or religion, however you feel that part of your life, and physically. If you are not physically active, you will never, ever reach anywhere near your peak of health. It's just not possible. We need physical activity. We even need physical activity to have our brains working. You can't sit still and think that you're focusing on your brain, because you're wrecking your brain. Like, you need to move, otherwise your brain will not function optimally. You will not develop. Kids who do not move, they do not develop properly. Kids who are not hugged do not develop properly. It's not enough to put them in front of an iPad. That's not going to develop their brains. That there are so many things going on with health and natural health, and we need to get back to that. And when we do, something like COVID, the whole world would never have noticed, because it doesn't make a big difference. And then we have all these weird agendas being pushed, and they're trying to whip up some kind of fear frenzy and self-policing, and like now there's 5 billion useful idiots out there kind of banging you over the head, fighting for the cause of the people who want to control you more, who want to have like a health passport that says that you must have these and these vaccinations to be allowed to travel. And of course, this is not about health. It's about financial incentives and control and power, as always. But then also one should be very careful and not go completely overboard in theorizing about all these conspiracies and blah, blah, blah. Often it's not that complicated. It's just, people doing what people do, and that's being destructive.
Exactly. What are your thoughts, Brenda?
I agree. So, it's all about, once again, individuality. So you have to people need to wake the fuck up and start taking control of their lives, and then once again becoming the optimal version of themselves so that we can join in unity, because this is about power. Look at all the oppression that is still taking place. Well, there was a little more freedom happening within that oppression, and then all of a sudden we have this pandemic that's oppressing people once again. Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to unite, and in order to change anything, in order to change, power, in order to change government, in order to change all these factory farms and, all these other big industries that are ruining the world.
And the fact of the matter, like with this nonsense going on, yes, there are some symptoms. It's a horrific cold virus. It's a coronavirus. It's a kind of like a common cold, but with more severe symptoms for some people at least. And of course, what people don't realize is that old people always die of influenza, malnutrition. They die from the common cold. They die from pneumonia. This happens all the time, and there are not many more people that have died in this way from this COVID, this novel COVID virus, than normally dies, and it's blown absolutely, completely out of proportion. And yeah, there might be some other consequences with this particular virus, and there is a virus. There are many viruses. I am not one of those who say, there are no viruses. I deny the germ. Like that's if it wasn't for the germs, we wouldn't be alive, because we actually need them. We live in symbiosis with them. Remove your your germs, you will be dead, probably before tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have like the scientific data on that exactly, but you need them. Like, you have more bacteria in your gut than you have cells in your body, and they work for you. They work in symbiosis with you.
Right.
You have bacteria on your skin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what cracks me up about this whole thing is, like, they're trying to come up with a cure for this virus, and there are no cures for viruses. Like, the best cure for a virus is your immune system. And people laugh. Like, I tell people all the time, like, build up your immune system. It's nutrition, it's sleep, it's less stress, it's exercise, it's getting in the sun. And they laugh. And because the medical people are telling them, no, you have to wait for this cure. And there is no cure for viruses, period.
just like run for the cure for breast cancer or for this or that, and put more money into the industries which are destroying the earth.
Yeah.
Big business. Like this breast cancer stuff is pink ribbon bullshit. It is big business, and the money doesn't even go to research. It goes to people's, big CEOs, their pockets. But the thing is, it's not enough to add a slice of tomato extra on your hamburger. It's not enough to have an orange with your breakfast that consists of bovine milk. Like you wouldn't be lying under a cow sucking on their udders, right? It's absurd.
I think some
and it
people
is
would.
absurd nutritionally too. Yeah, maybe they would. So what I'm saying is that, like, there are so many things that we just take for granted because it's ingrained. We're used to it, and we don't want to question anything. We are so stressed out, and we're stressed out even more now, and this is perfect for anyone who is in power, because that leaves us in a state where we don't make new choices. We don't make conscious decisions, and we get immunocompromised. We actually get worse health. I'm happy to be in Sweden. Like, here, the lockdown hasn't been so bad, and it's going really well. And society is kind of slowed down. People are working a bit from home and stuff, but really everything is like normal. Like, we just,
Right. Do you think, Brenda, that this the situation that we're facing right now in 2020, do you think that is bringing the light into us, more light, or do you think we're gonna start seeing more destruction and more demise within society?
Unfortunately, like I said, there's so much trauma already within this world that this pandemic is once again stressing people out, and in many cases re-traumatizing people. And in extreme cases, there's suicide from this because of, isolation and loneliness. So, unfortunately, like all these people, I know a lot of people are talking about, like, this is the Great Awakening and everything else. I feel it's quite the opposite. Like, it's their way of re-traumatizing people to regain control, in a sense.
Right.
And there is a lot more destruction right now. And there, with all of the racism and everything that's come up from this, and re-traumatization in the oppressed people and everything else, like, it's very real. Like, and what I say is, if COVID wasn't, on the news, like, would you even know that it was going on?
Yes, exactly.
Like, it would just be another flu, or, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, if we were living completely natural lives in nature, we didn't have access to any of the mainstream media news or TV or anything, we would not even know anything's going on. I mean, we wouldn't even get flu because we would be eating more of a natural diet.
Yeah.
It's like,
And fear and trauma are, they compromise your immune system 100%. So that just makes you even more vulnerable to getting sick. And then, nobody is living the way that we're intended to live. We are animals. We're meant to live in nature. We're always stuck in four walls. You know what I'm saying? And that's immune compromising. So, there's just a no win-win unless you actually wake up and get back to as close to our natural state of living as possible. And that is, raw foods and getting in nature and being an animal and being free.
Exactly. And Rob and both of you, how do you see yourselves living in the next 5, 10 years or so? Do you think of traveling somewhere to the tropics and living somewhere? Like, I mean, you have a place in Ecuador. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can say a few words about that. Absolutely. We have a lot of stuff that we want to do, and first stop is U.S. for me, to be there with Brenda, and we have a lot of things that we want to do there. And we'll see how everything pans out. But I do have I bought this place 2 years ago in Fruit Haven in Ecuador.
Uh-huh.
So that's fruithavenecovillage.com if you want to check it out.
Okay.
And there are personal homestead lots for sale there now, or coming up for sale. And it's off-grid, in the jungle, up on the mountain. We had to build our own road to even get there.
Wow.
Of course it's people, so there are always challenges and different ideas and stuff, but it's in its fundament is raw and vegan. Of course, we know how it is with raw foods. Not everybody managed, so there's some cooking going on here and there and whatnot, and maybe not everybody is practicing like veganism to the strictest sense, but we plant shitloads of fruit trees and other edibles, and we are trying to build a community. And I have not started building our house yet, and now I'm with Brenda, so we will go and do that together eventually. But there's a lot of stuff going on there, and it's neighbor to Terra Frutis also.
Right.
So there are people in the area. You can. I actually bought the land there without seeing it firsthand. I just had a lot of pictures and videos and maps and stuff, and I knew what I wanted, and I figured this is the right place for me. And I didn't even have the money, so I got an expensive loan with high interest just to be able to buy the place and get started. So now I have, I don't know, not super much. I haven't gone like completely overboard, but there's at least over 50 fruit trees. Anyways, like,
wow.
Yeah, lots of bananas and some citrus, avocados, plenty of Rolinha. It's a super delicious fruit. Yeah, some different things.
So Fruit Haven is not fully self-sustainable yet?
No, it's not self-sustained yet. Like, you can't go there and just live off the land. You can almost kind of do it, and the food is of course very inexpensive in the area, and we have great connection with the neighbors there, the locals, like the Ecuadorians and the native the Ecuadorian
people,
native people, and it works really well, and they're super friendly people. So this is not close to the capital city or anything like that. You have to travel for a bit. It's like 4 or 5 hour bus from Cuenca, where you can get to by flight, and 4 or 5 hour bus from there, and then another half hour to Fruit Haven. But close to Fruit Haven, you just cross this walking bridge over a big river, and then you're in this small village, and where there are a few small stores, and they have started stocking more fruit also now that there are raw vegans there buying more fruit.
Excellent.
So yeah, people are super friendly. It's a great place. The climate is good. There are some these small gnats or no-see-ums that kind of come out at night and can bite you unless you cover up your ankles and stuff. But apart from that, it's absolutely perfect. It's not too warm. It never gets really cold. It's super nice. You can grow durian there. You can grow all sorts of fruit, and there are people there already doing it. So you can basically buy your land, send over some money, and say, yeah, you have a power of attorney to do what I say there. And I want this many fruit trees planted of this kind, and they will just hire locals to come help plant and prepare the land and do it for you, and there are fruit trees that you can buy, and you can really get started without even setting foot there. Like you can arrive there in 5 years and have ripe fruit hanging from the trees, basically. So it's it might be freedom, like, and your individuality might be important to you, and you might want to have like completely your own place. But I think this is a very good compromise. I have my 100% my own place, but it is a part of a village where there is cooperation, there are other people, and there are people that can look after my place for me. So I think it's absolutely perfect. Do you have any specific questions regarding this place? I wonder if...
Did we lose him?
Did we lose him? Are we still on?
Yeah, I believe
it looks like it is running. Yeah. Okay, so this is our show now. We got this.
So I guess to answer like where we want to be, so like I'm a warrior spirit, and I have this great need inside of me to help as many people as possible while I'm here on this planet. So I am going to school for clinical mental health counseling, and I'll have my license in a little over a year. And I want to open holistic trauma centers to help people that have trauma and addictions heal. And I would like to do so in many different countries so that there is a holistic center for that to be going on, which incorporates many things from nutrition, exercise, yoga, meditation, spiritual healing, energy healing, healing through like equine therapy and animal therapy, and adventure healing, which is healing outdoors and things like that. So that's definitely on my goal list. And also, on my future vision board is to fight actually for, sorry, there's a whole bunch of beeps going on, to fight to bring the large corporations down, to actually change the FDA regulations surrounding nutrition so that people can have optimal health and wellness, and to, help be a part of bringing down factory farming, because I think that that's an important part to changing, planet Earth in general.
And these are things that I want to be right there with Brenda. Like, she's the warrior. I'm exactly the same way. And what she's talking about here, it is 100%, what I want to do too, and support her in what she wants to do with this. And like this Ecuador thing is the big plan, the getaway, basically. And that will be something that we will build and have for the future. But like I said, I'm going to the U.S. now to support Brenda and just be there with her. Also, I would like to actually get to be doing more and more of the spiritual healing that is so amazingly fulfilling to me, and I really feel like it's a big part of my purpose. And anytime, every time that I work doing that, is incredibly rewarding, both for me and my clients. So I think it's something that is really, really valuable and beautiful, and that's something I really want to do.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And Rob and I are also planning on van life so that we can travel to many different locations in the U.S., but we're also planning on traveling as much as possible outside of the U.S. as well. And hopefully, traveling. I would like to have a clinic on every island in Hawaii, too, so I can bounce from island to island in Hawaii, of course, because Hawaii is my home. This is the shirt, my Hawaiian girl shirt. So, but yeah, that's my spiritual home. So as much as I can be in Hawaii, the better.
Yeah. So, Michael, if you can hear us but not get back into the conference call, maybe you can type question for us, and we can just keep going until you manage to get online properly.
Otherwise, I think actually we're running on like the 2-hour mark here, so we can probably, he can't use audio anymore, so I think it's okay to just say thank you, Michael, for having us here. And yeah, we would be glad to come back anytime. And yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. It was great talking to you and getting to know you a bit more. Absolutely lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And so much love to everyone.
Much love.